Hello everybody, this is Pradeep, a lecturer of English from Vishwamanava Composite PU College, Chitradurga. I have been here to present my views over the rest part of the short play called it A Sunny Morning. So, I would like to welcome you all cordially back to today's session. Before going through the main script of the short play A Sunny Morning, I would like to remind you what was taught you the other day. In the previous class, we got to see about the biography of Serafin and Joaquin Alvarez Quintero. These two playwrights were from Spain and widely known as Golden Boys of Madrid Theatre because they had contributed a lot towards the art and literature of Spain using the Spanish language. They had composed more than 200 plays altogether, and these 200 plays had depicted or portrayed the life, mannerism, and the speeches of the people of their native place Andalusia, located at southern Spain. I advised you people to keep in your mind alive that is much of Serafin's and Joaquin Alvarez Quintero's writing merely focused on comedies. Here we have one such a comedy that is called A Sunny Morning out of all the comedies that were written by Serafin and Joaquin Alvarez Quintero. These two writers or playwrights, Serafin and Joaquin Alvarez Quintero, were seen in the earlier decades of 20th century in the history of Spain. This is all about the biography of the two playwrights, Serafin and Joaquin Alvarez Quintero. And later, you were insisted in your mind the central idea of this short play. It is all about the romantic love story of the two protagonists, named them Donalara and Don Gonzalo, who were the major characters of this short play, A Sunny Morning. And later, you were introduced the characters, one who played a significant role in making a thoughtful and good play, A Sunny Morning. That is Donalara, who was a female protagonist. She had appointed one of the housemaid, named her as Petra. In contrast to the female characters, we had male characters to see, that is Don Gonzalo, who was a male protagonist, and he had appointed one of an attendant, named him as Zunaito. And I told you people further that the whole story that took place in one of the park situated at Madrid, which was a capital city of Spain. And one more thing that you should always keep in your mind, that is the whole story is narrated using the humorous vein until we get the end of the story of this Sunday morning. The usage of the humorous vein has been flown towards the end of the short play of Sunday morning. When the story that began, what was the scene on the stage is that it was a sunny morning. There was a park in the city of Madrid. In the park of the Madrid, there was a corner. In that corner, one of the bench was placed at the right side of the park. And it was made clear to us that the whole story that took place in the season of an autumn. And soon after, the female protagonist Donalara was introduced to us. She was described as a handsome woman. I told you people the reason why the word handsome was also associated with the woman character too. That is, while describing about the physical property of a woman, we can make use of the word handsome to describe her physical gesture. She had nurtured a white hair on her head. She was all around 70 years of age at the beginning of this story, and she was a very elegant woman. She was a fine looking woman too in her appearance. She had acquired a bright eyes in her below her forehead. And what did we get to see is that even she had lost her physical property, her mental faculty was not completely damaged. She was so strong enough in making a decision to, even on the verge of the 70 years of her old. And later she entered into the park, taking one of the colorful umbrella in her hand, which had served as a walking stick, as she needed a support to get herself into the park. And later, what did we get to see is that there was a slightest conversation in between Donalara and Petra about the god of the park, who was indeed a beloved of Petra. In the At the beginning of this story, Donalara, she said that she was so happy to be the part of the park, and she further felt feared. She further felt fear that her seat would be occupied by someone else, as she had witnessed the presence of many wanderers in the park. This is how the conversation that took place. And Petra, she said or replied to Donalara, saying that why both of them had a beautiful morning is that the sun looked very bright on the today. And Donalara, she had observed Petra as she stood before Donalara that if Petra wanted to go out of the presence of Donalara to have some chat with her beloved god, she can go out of the presence of Donalara. But Petra, initially she doesn't agree with her with Donalara. That's why she kept telling Donalara that he only belonged to the park. But Donalara, she insisted Petra, telling that he only belongs more to you than he belonged to the park. That's why she insisted or suggested Petra that to go to find him, and the condition that she shouldn't remain more than 10 minutes and she should be within a calling distance. When she finds the necessity to call her homemade back, her voice must be audible to Lara. On this condition, Donna Lara allowed her homemaid to go out of her presence. After hearing this, Donna Lara was on her foot to go out of the place where she had stood before Donalara. When she started stepping her foot out of the presence of Donalara, she was interrupted by Donalara. Now Donalara asked Petra to give her a breadcrumbs, but at the beginning Petra couldn't understand what she was asking for. And when Donalara made it a mention that your head is with your God, as your heart is with your God, as it was heard by Petra. Now she came to the reality to understand what was Donalara asking. That's why Petra, she handed some bread pieces over to Donalara by giving a bag which consisted of many breadcrumbs in it, some breadcrumbs in it. And now Donalara had sent her Petra to meet her beloved one. And after having received those bread crumbs from the hand of Petra, Donalara, she said as that she made a mention of the sentence that is here they come. The word I told you people earlier, the word that refers to only the pigeons. She had witnessed the presence of the pigeons one who were approaching towards Donalara, where she was sitting on a bench all alone. And she kept saying herself that those pigeons knew that when I would come into the park, and after said these words, she rose from her sitting position and she walked towards the right side of the park, and she took three handful of bread pigeons out of her bag to throw them towards the pigeons. And she had thrown her first handful of bread pieces towards the sprites, and later towards the gluttons, and more towards the little ones, as they were categorized into three parts. Those pigeons were categorized into three parts, named them as sprites, gluttons, and the little ones, who were always persistent in nature. And after throwing all those bread pieces towards the pigeons, she had a happy on her face, as she fed up all those pigeons by throwing all the bread pieces towards the pigeons. And there she had observed one of the little pigeon, one who stuck onto a particular place. So she called it as a philosopher. Why? Because is that she thought that it would come onto her hand and would take all the pigeons that is left in her hand, as she expected that a little one came up to her and took all the took all the bread crumbs out of her hand and had flown onto the branches of the tree. And she had asked herself a question, that is, where do all those pigeons come from? And she found herself an answer. It seemed as if the news of my coming had spread among all the pigeons. And she further suggested all the pigeons not to quarrel each other, because there is plenty of all breadcrumbs with me, and moreover I will bring more on tomorrow. Meantime, the another character was introduced by the two playwrights, that is Don Gonzalo, who was a male protagonist, along with Zunato. He came inside the park. He was an old gentleman, all around 70 years of age, and he had developed a goatee. It is a kind of a disease that gives him a lot of pain in his ankle, and he seems to be an impatient, as he has lost his temper. When he got entered into the park, he has taken a support of his Zunaito by putting his arm upon the shoulder of his servant Zunaito. This is what we got to see the other day. Let us make a move on to the another slide. Don Gonzalo idling their time away. They should be saying mass. Here, what do we see is that now the conversation takes place in between the male characters, that is Don Gonzalo and Zunaito. What is Don Gonzalo trying to tell Zunaito is that idling their time away. This is a sentence that refers to a priest who have occupied Don Gonzalo's bench in the park. After having seen the presence of three priests in the park, Don Gonzalo tells Zunaito that idling their time away. Who does this word there refers to is that the three priests, one who are sitting on the bench, that belongs to Don Gonzalo. So he tells Zunaito that all those priests are idling their time, which means they are completely wasting their time simply sitting on the bench. They are completely wasting their time all through the time. That's why Don Gonzalo tells Zunito that these three priests are simply wasting their time all through the way and they should be saying a mass. He has further assumed or imagined that they, after having seen the presence of those priests sitting on his bench, he has imagined himself that all those three priests should be saying a mass. This, what do we see is that this is one of the ceremony that is especially kept by the priests, that is performed by the priests in the Christian church. Especially this is performed by the Roman Catholics in the church about the last food of the Jesus Christ, which means this is one of the prayer. That is what all the priests are praying for as they sat down on the bench of this Don Gonzalo. He has imagined himself that all these three priests are praying about the Jesus Christ as they must do it in a church. And after having received these words from Don Gonzalo, Zunito, he has advised Don Gonzalo to sit there. So he tells Don Gonzalo that you can sit here, Senhor. In contrast to the Senora, as we had seen it in our previous class, here we have another term, that is Senor. That is a Spanish term especially used for a group of men in Spain. It is a Spanish word which is similar to a sir or Mr. in English language. After having received those words from Don Gonzalo, Zunito, as advised, is Don Gonzalo that to sit, that to take is a seat here after finding a place. So Zunito had advised Don Gonzalo to sit there. There is only a lady. Zunito tells Don Gonzalo there is only a lady sitting on a bench. After finding no one beside a lady, Zunito tells Don Gonzalo to take his seat. He can sit besides a lady. There is no one except this woman. That's why Zunito has advised Don Gonzalo to take his seat along with a lady who is all alone sitting on a bench. Donna turns her head and listens. All these words are listened by Donna, that which has grabbed her attention. As her attention is grabbed, she takes her direction towards Zunito and Gonzalo. That's why she takes her direction towards Gonzalo and Zunito as they talk to each other, and she keeps listening those words from Zunito and Gonzalo. Don Gonzalo, I want Zunito, I want a bench to myself. Don Gonzalo, he tells Zunito when he is advised to take his seat beside a lady who is sitting all alone. Initially, Don Gonzalo doesn't accept to take his seat beside this woman, saying that he wouldn't take a seat beside this lady. He claims to have a bench for himself. That's why he says that he wants to have his own bench for himself. He must sit all alone. Here we come to know that the female character Donna Lara came not only this day, she came into existence in this park. Before this day, Don Gonzalo also used to come to this park every day, so that he want a bench for himself. He has demanded to take his his own bench instead of sitting beside this Donalara. Zunaito, but there is none. He has observed everywhere in the park, but he has found no bench is left in the park. That's why he has told Don Gonzalo that there is no bench left in this park. Don Gonzalo, that one over there is mine. Don Gonzalo has glanced towards or all around the park, and he has witnessed one of the bench which is occupied by himself every day when he has become the part of this park. By pointing his finger out at a little distance, he has observed one of the bench there which is occupied by three priests. By showing his finger, that bench over there that belongs to me only, he says like this: Zunaito, there are three priests sitting there, and the bench that is pointed out by Don Gonzalo is also seen by Zunaito. As he has seen that bench that is being occupied by the three priests, he tells Don Gonzalo that there are three priests sitting on it. Those three priests have occupied Don Gonzalo's bench. This is also seen by Zunaito. Don Gonzalo wrote them out. Have they gone? Don Gonzalo ordered Zunaito to check them out. Wrote them out in a sense, you go and find them, whether they would go or not. That is what we call wrote them out. You go and find them, whether they would go or not. And have they gone? He has asked Zunaito a question, whether those three priests have gone yet. This is how Don Gonzalo has asked Zunaito a question over here. Zunaito has given Don Gonzalo an answer, that is no, indeed. In reality, all the three priests are sitting there indeed. After having seen the presence of those priests as they have been sitting on the bench, Zunaito tells Don Gonzalo that they aren't away out of the bench, still they are sitting on it. They are in reality sitting on it. This is what we call no, indeed. They are in reality sitting on the bench. They are talking to each other. All the three priests are communicating each other, having something in them. Don Gonzalo, just as if they were glued to the seat. Now Don Gonzalo has remarked, saying that just all the three priests, how are they sitting is that as if they were glued to the seat. Glued in a sense, all the three priests had stuck onto the seat. They are not ready to leave the bench. That is what we call glued. Stick onto a bench. All the three priests are sitting as if they are sticking onto the seat. This is what has been commented by Don Gonzalo. No hope of their living, and further he comes to know that even a mark or sign of living hasn't been shown by the three priests. There is no hope at all of their living out of the bench that is still being occupied by the three priests. Come this way, Zunaito. So, after having seen the presence, after having seen how all the priests are sticking themselves onto the bench, Don Gonzalo has told Zunaito to come towards one way. That's why he has ordered his Zunaito to come onto a way where he wants to carry him all along the way. They walk toward the birds, right? And both of them, Don Gonzalo and Zunaito, they walk toward the birds where they were feeding on the breadcrumbs that were thrown by Donalara. They were feeding at the right side of the park. As both of them kept looking at the right side of the park, they started walking towards the right side of the park, where all the pigeons were feeding on the crumbs of Donalara. as Donna and Don Gonzalo start walking towards the right side of the park where all the pigeons were feeding. Donna now she takes a glance towards Don Gonzalo and Zunaito. Now she indignantly look out. Indignantly in a sense, now she gets fury. Now she gets angry after having seen the coming of Don Gonzalo along with his male servant Zunaito. As they start walking toward the right side of the park, this is observed by Donna Lara. That's why she gets fury or angry. She keeps watching the coming of Don Gonzalo and Zunaito. Don Gonzalo, are you speaking to me, Sinora? When both of them, Don Gonzalo and Zunaito, have come across Donalara as she is sitting on her bench. When he has come across her bench, he listens to something. That's why he has asked her a question. Are you speaking to me, Sinora? Which means, are you addressing to me? What you find, which means she finds something to speak about him, and that's why he feels himself that she finds something to speak about me. That's why he assumes himself she might be thinking, she might be speaking about me. That's why he has asked Donna Lara a question over here. Are you speaking or addressing to me, Senora? Donna Lara, yes, to you. She tells Don Gonzalo that yes, she is addressing or speaking only to Don Gonzalo. She has intention in her mind why she is speaking about Don Gonzalo. That is, she has observed that Don Gonzalo has scared away or frightened away all the pigeons who were feeding on her crumbs. That's why when she has observed the flowing of all the pigeons onto the branches of the tree, she has spoken about Don Gonzalo. Now she admits that, now she agrees that yes, I am speaking to you only. Don Gonzalo, what do you wish? Don Gonzalo has further asked a question. He has further added in the form of a question that what do you want from me? What do you desire for? This is how he has asked a question. Donna Lara, you have scared away the birds who were feeding on my crumbs. When Don Gonzalo and Zunaito are walking towards the right side of the park, they have come across all the pigeons who were feeding on Donalara's crumbs, and both Gonzalo and Zunaito have scared away the birds. The birds were no longer at the place feeding all the bread pieces that were thrown by Donalara, and all those pigeons were in fear that would be done to them. That's why with the fear of having in them, all the pigeons have gone towards the branches of the tree. All of them have flown who were feeding on the crumbs of this Donalara. Don Gonzalo, what do I care about the birds? He has further added in the form of question to Lara, asking that what do I care about the birds? Why should I care? Why should I care about the birds? What makes me to give my care towards all those pigeons? Why should I take care of all those birds? This is how he has asked Donalara over here. But Donalara, in contrast to the above statement, she tells Don Gonzalo in the form of an answer that, but I do. She takes care of all those pigeons. That's why she has addressed Don Gonzalo over here. She looks over all those pigeons who were feeding on her crumbs. Don Gonzalo, this is a public property. That's why should I care about all the pigeons? This belongs to all the people. This not the park that doesn't not only belong to you. This is a public possession. This is a public property. Everywhere the people would come and go out of this park. That's why I need not to show any concern or care about all the birds. Donalara, then why do you complain that all the priests have taken your bench? Now it is a turn to ask a question by Donalara to Don Gonzalo. Earlier, before this moment, why do you complain? Why do you file a complaint that the three priests have taken away, have taken or have occupied your bench? Why have you complained against them? I know we certainly come to know that this is a public property. As this is a public property, those three priests have also the liberty of acquiring any bench in the park. Though you have made it a mention that those three priests have occupied your bench. Why did you complain like that? This is how Donalara has asked him a question. Don Gonzalo, Sinora, I told you people earlier in the previous class that Sinora is a Spanish term that is associated with the female character. It is similar to Miss or Madam in English language. We have not met to escape out of the control of this Donalara. Don Gonzalo, he has told Donalara that we haven't met each other, we are not familiar each other. Till this moment, we haven't been familiar each other. No more discussion. I can't even imagine why you take the liberty of addressing me. Earlier, he comes to know that she is only addressing to me. That was indeed true. But now he imagines himself that why does she take the liberty of addressing me? We haven't met each other. We haven't been familiar with too. That's why he says himself that why does she take the liberty of addressing or speaking to me? Come Zunaito, come, let us go out of her presence, out of this lady's presence. That's why Don Gonzalo has suggested his male servant Zunaito to go out of the presence of this old lady. That's why he has forced his Zunaito to go out of her presence. That's why he has called his Zunaito to come along with him. Both of them go out by the right side of the park. After having reached Donalara and after having a bit conversation, a slightest conversation with Donalara, and he finds himself, he gets irritated as he has had a conversation with her, and he wants to go out of the presence of her, and both of them take their departure and they go towards the right side of the park. Let us stop over here, and we will discuss later in the coming session. Thank you, Gonzalo.